There are plenty of sales frameworks out there. You may have heard of spin selling or snap selling, but one of my personal favorites I find works the best is Alex Hormozi's 3A's framework. It's a simple but very effective reframing strategy that works really well in only 3 sentences. The first A of this framework is acknowledge. When you're responding to your client, the first words that come out of your mouth should be repeating exactly what they just said back to them. This is also known as mirroring or active listening. But basically what it's doing is showing the client that they're heard and understood. It'll help build rapport with the customer for later on in the sales process. What you want to do in this acknowledgement is just show that you're listening and show that you actually care about what they have to say. This first A, acknowledge, will also buy a little bit of time to think about what you're going to say next. So that brings us to our second point. The second A in our framework is association. And so basically what you're wanting to do here is associate the question that your client is asking with the behavior of someone that gets the highest results from your product or service. So you're basically assigning them a label that they have to live up to. Assigning that label to them that you can again use that label when you're going to close, draw back to that label and include that in their personality. This will make them feel similar to these other successful people who ask the same questions as they did. So that brings us to our third A of the framework, and that's the ask. So the person asking the questions is the person who is in control. Let me say that again. The person who is asking the questions is the person who's in control. Remember that. So you don't want to answer their questions directly. You want to ask questions about their questions, right? For example, if you're a financial advisor and your client is asking you, what certifications do you have? They're in the position of control because they're asking the question, and a question like that, they get to decide if they accept your answer or not. It's kind of a trick question. So there's no right answer. So what you could say to that is, for first step, A, acknowledge. So you're curious as to what certifications I have. Associate, that's a great question. It shows you're a rational person, similar to other people who asked that question before they signed on with us. Then you make your ask. What certifications are you looking for in particular? So most of the time, people are just asking questions just to make like an informed decision. But if they were say, well, oh, I've heard the CPA is a good certification. Well, you could say back to that, acknowledge, yeah, CPA is great. These are the certifications I have, and let me show you why these are better than those. So you can kind of push the sale forward. And this works with any objection, really. If someone were to say like, I just need to think about it. You can say, acknowledge, totally agree, like understand that you need to think about it, associate. This shows that you are a smart person who likes to know the facts. Ask, what are your main concerns? So this again pushes the sale forward and find out what the deeper meaning of their question is. Because if like an objection on the surface may seem like one thing, but that's not the true meaning of why they're objecting. So it could really work with anything. And if they ask why you're not answering their questions directly, what you need to say is basically, if I were to answer your questions right now, it would be unethical because I don't have the right resources or knowledge about your business, and I need you to be on the inside before I answer your questions. It would be unethical for me to tell you what's wrong with your car before I take a look under the hood, kind of thing. And so one important rule is not to ask if they have any questions though, because that's just asking if they have any objections. Basically bringing objections to the table, which is exactly what you don't want to do in sales. Another rule Alex Hormozi says in his video of like the 3A's framework is be like smoke, just dodging questions basically. Yeah. Like objections as well. Just to summarize, A, acknowledge what they have, what they said, what their concern is, what they're wanting out of it. And then next A is association. Associate with them with this behavior of someone who was in their position and maybe was more successful than them even, just to show them what their potential could be or what their future might look like. And then the final A is the ask. Then you can find out like a more deeper underlying concern.